Hello and welcome back to Storied Ozarks. You can find us on KUOZ's Channel 6, KUOZ's Facebook page, and KUOZ's YouTube page. This time is all about compassion, understanding, and starting a conversation. Join us with producer Densel Bullard as he takes us through these important issues.
My name is Petron Brown. I was born in the Bahamas. I am a senior right now, so I'm very excited to graduate. My majors are theater and environmental studies. I am in the process actually finishing a book. We know that last year was full with a lot of issues with racial injustice, the George Floyd incident, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, just everything in that realm. And that kind of sparked me to write about this kind of things, the things that are happening right now. And the premise of the book is just to highlight what the Black experience has been for so many different people. Writer's block is real. Like there were nights, weeks where like I wouldn't come up with anything and nothing flowed. Like I would write a really good monologue and then work on the next one. Some of them I wrote in like 10 minutes. Others, it took me like an entire month to finish. The one that I performed is told from the perspective of the father, talking to the therapist, talking about how his wife isn't letting go, and he's also blaming himself for Cornelius dying because he never showed him how to handle police officers and everything anymore. She sleeps in his bed, pretends that she's talking to him all night. That's not even the best part. I came home from work and she was just sitting on the living room sofa, staring at the door. When I asked her about it, she said that she was just waiting for Cornelius to come home from school. I mean, I know that grief is a long and complex process, and denial is a part of that process, and that's why she's holding on to him, but it's been 2 months. He's gone, and he's not coming back. Why can't she accept that?
And we're here with producer Densel Bullard. That was a very inspiring story, very kind of touching. Tell me, how did you come up with the idea for that one?
Well, before the stories were even a thing, Petron and I spoke, and he was telling me about a project that he was working on, essentially a book of monologues. So, because he does theater, and he said that there weren't much monologues that fit his description, being a Black theater major, and he wanted to fill that gap. And then with the events of like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, those sparked him to write about it, you know? And it created intense emotion in him. And he started this book of monologues. And he, according to him, he said he didn't even start it with the intention of like publishing it or it becoming what it is now. He just started writing. And after like, I think he said like the 5th or 6th monologue, it just became something bigger than itself. And he just kept writing, and then a direction was kind of clear at that point.
Yeah, it's definitely something that can happen when you have an idea and it starts kind of developing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it tends to kind of snowball, become really big, and you just kind of go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything in particular maybe that you would have to say about that experience of like what he's trying to portray?
Well, personally, I'm not in the theater space. I would like to be, you know. I would try to act, but I'm not as good as Petron, not as yet. But wait, can you ask the question again? I kind of maybe forgot what you said.
So just going along with the topic of like the monologues that he's already made and, you know, communicating that experience,
okay.
Is there anything that you would add to that personally?
Well, personally, I would add the fact that, for one, I think it's a great idea what Petron is doing. And I feel as though him opening up the conversation in the theater space of Black matters and different things is very good. But I don't know what to say about that, to answer that question, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's definitely a complicated issue, very
Mm-hmm.
touchy as well. And, you know, it's something that we all have to kind of like look inward,
Mm-hmm.
have that conversation, and, you know, just develop our own thoughts and opinions on it.
And when I think about your question, actually, sorry to cut you off,
Yeah, no, go ahead.
but I feel as though his book of monologues, it will kind of shine a light on, like I said previously, shine a light on the issues that are at hand, and it would start conversation. I feel like I said this already. It would start conversation in that theater space. Yeah, I said that already.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good point to drive home. You know, that's something that needs to happen, is just get those conversations started. I would say, for the audience, what would you want them to take away from the story? What would be like the main lesson or the main idea? Any like calls to action or anything like that?
Well, for one, I would want you guys to, look into purchasing and acquiring a copy of Petron's monologue book. I saw the different monologues in it, and in the story itself, he acted one out for me, and I recorded it and everything, and it's very very motivating. It's very moving, and it gets you there, Mm-hmm. So the call to action would be supporting Petron's book and supporting what he's doing, because I feel like this is something bigger than the book, bigger than him, bigger than us. Like, it would make a difference, in my opinion, not only with the Black Lives Matter movement, but also in the monologue and theater space in general. Like, it's breaking boundaries and breaking down walls that need to be broken.
That's perfect. And as a producer, creating that story and seeing that final product, how do you feel about it? And what do you want to do with it moving forward?
Honestly, I feel pretty great about it. There were a few things that I wanted to add and I would have rather I've done. However, as a whole, looking at it for what it is and for the amount of time for the duration that I, had to shoot for, is pretty good. If I was able to, instead of a 2-minute story, make a 10-minute story, it would be something way different,
Yeah.
Jam-packed with more information, more monologues, and just more broad.
Yeah, issues like that definitely a very rich field. It's
Mm-hmm.
very hard to condense all of that into 2 minutes, but I think you did a very good job with that, and I appreciate you bringing us into that world and introducing us to Petron's works.
Yes, sir. So do you have any other questions about it? Something that you would want to know personally?
What would you say is the mentality that you would want someone to go into with it? For, let's say, someone at home who just bought the book, what type of perspective do you want them having going into it and experiencing that?
I would want their perspective to be understanding, and I would want them to have empathy when they're reading the book and just flipping through the monologues,
Yeah, that's definitely the purpose of the book, I would say, from what I've heard about it, is just, being introduced to that perspective and being able to open up that dialogue and actually understand and, be able to empathize with that. So thank you very much for taking us into that. That was producer Densel Bullard on the Book of Stories.